Hey there, everybody. Dr. T here from Mad Science of Washington, and I'm here in our Mad Science lab up in Silver Spring, and I'm here to share with you guys some really cool stuff today. But first, I just wanted to say that some of you may have seen Mad Science before. We like to support the Washington Wizards and come out for our Kids Day every January, as well as many other events that you might have seen us at as well. Well, now we're here to talk to you a little bit about the science of basketball and some different parts of basketball. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the center of gravity. Now, what is center of gravity and how does that relate to basketball? You're probably wondering. Well, first of all, you all know what gravity is, I'm sure. It's that force that pulls you down towards Earth. Now, the center of gravity is basically just the middle of an object where the weight on all sides of that object is about even. So, I'll demonstrate that for you in just a second, but let me explain why that's relevant to basketball first. Now, some of you have probably noticed, probably most of you have noticed, that many basketball players are really tall. Well, not such great news for Dr. T. I am not that tall, so I didn't know that I would be able to be a good basketball player. But as it turns out, you can be a pretty good basketball player and may even have some advantages if you aren't that tall. And the main reason is that you have a lower center of gravity. So, first, let's understand what center of gravity is. So, center of gravity, as I mentioned, is when the weight on all sides of an object is about even. So, if you take a look right here at my little pyramid, you'll notice I can hang this little bird gateway right on top of it, just like that. And it will hang off. Now, even though one small point of that is actually resting on another object, it's able to stay balanced because the weight on each side, this bird right here and this one right here, are about the same size, and so they're about the same weight, and so gravity is acting on each of those birds about equally and pulling them down equally on each side so it can't fall off on either side. A simpler example would be this ruler right here. It's very easy to find the center of gravity of this ruler, just like it's easy to find the center of gravity of these birds. Obviously, it's right in the middle. Pretty easy to tell just from looking at it. Same here, right in the middle. So I can balance that right on my fingertip, and of course the ruler doesn't fall. Now, some objects are a little bit trickier to find the center of gravity. One such example might be this toilet plunger. So looking at this, you can tell that the weight on this side and this side are not equal. Now, you can't quite tell which side is heavier. You can see they're made of different materials, but it probably depends on what the materials are. You may not be able to see on video. Let's test it out. We've got this end right here that looks like it would be the heavier end, and it appears that it is. And so the center of gravity is the point where I can balance this on my finger. So I can keep on trying to balance that very close. And there, just about there, not perfect, but that is just about the center of gravity on this toilet plunger. So, right here we have a toilet plunger center of gravity, right? It's not right in the middle. And finally, we can also take something right here. We got a little eagle, and his center of gravity is where you'd expect. It's that beak right there. But here's the fun part. We can actually balance that beak right there on the pyramid. You guys can take a look at that. And we can balance that entire eagle just on his beak because his weight is equal on every side of the pyramid. All right, so I think we understand center of gravity now, but what does that have to do with basketball? Well, the taller somebody is, the higher their center of gravity is. Obviously, for your weight to be equal on all sides, if you're much taller, then your center of gravity, which is somewhere around your belly button, moves up. And if you're shorter, then it's much lower. Now, how is that helpful? Well, it lets you control the ball much better when you're dribbling. You have much better accuracy, and it's much easier to dribble when you're closer to the ground. That's why, when players are dribbling, they don't stand up and run like this, because that would keep their center of gravity too high, among other problems. Right? Having a low center of gravity naturally makes that much easier. It means the ball spends much less time in the air between the ground and your hand, and so it spends much more time in your hand and harder for other players to steal from you. So there's a lot of advantages that come from maybe not being so tall, but even players who are tall always want to be good at making sure that their center of gravity is nice and low when they're trying to control the ball to defend themselves from other players. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm glad you got to join me here in the Mad Science Lab. I can't wait to see you again at the next Washington Wizard Kids Day or whatever other event we may happen to be out there with. And I hope that we'll get to see you guys shortly.